about 50 eco-zealots at 5 different locations, basically walking very slowly. The police, by the way, are supposed to now have some kind of new set of powers, which is supposed to enable them to arrest these bozos, but it doesn't seem to be happening. And one of the things they seem to be doing now, a lot of, is holding hands and sort of walking very slowly and trying to stop traffic from moving anywhere. More and more people getting more and more frustrated. You can see at one point a man sort of wielding a skateboard at them, another guy pulling people out of the way, pushing people out of the way. I mean, it really is a ludicrous situation. And everybody, even those who might have some sympathy for their cause, whatever the hell that is, because one of the problems with these characters is that they're all deluded and think the Earth is going to burn up and sort of disappear into a massive fireball in about 4 years. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So let's talk to Nusrit to find out exactly what the police are doing. I don't see any police at this particular location, and somebody's going to get hurt here, Nusrit. I just think, I don't know what we can do to persuade these idiots that this is really not a very smart way to carry on, you know?
You know, in terms of police have new powers. The Home Secretary has given them powers to actually, if they're obstructing, to actually come and do something about it. So they should intervene, because you're absolutely right. Somebody's going to get hurt, and somebody that's trying to move them is going to get arrested, and that wouldn't be right. But in terms of, you know, why they're doing it, I can understand. I do have empathy, not with their tactics, but the cause that they stand for. Certainly, if we look across Europe now, we can see how global warming is affecting it with, you know, a fossil fuel, and everything heating up to 48 degrees or 40.
Well, we don't really know what's causing it, though, do we? That's the point. I mean, none of these bozos who look as if they couldn't add up 20 plus 31 times a million, you know, what the hell do they know that we don't know? They're just making it up as they go along. They're all convinced that the world is going to end, and they've actually said it in as many words. And plainly, they're wrong. I mean, I listened to a climate change expert the other day who said even if we stopped actually all carbon emissions from today, in the entire rest of the world, nothing would change for about 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with their tactics, and I think you're right that they would have to retake their tactics, because one of the problems is they're losing support for a very important cause, which I think we all believe in, whatever way.
I don't believe in it, but that's another story.
They need to think about their tactics, because they're losing public support, and actually it detracts from what they're trying to say.
Yes.
Because
but I'm less interested in how they feel, and I'm more interested in how the general public feels, and the general public are the ones who are being disrupted here. And I think the police owe the public a duty of responsibility to get these people out of the way, but they don't seem to be doing it.
No, and that's it. They have got those additional powers. They've already had powers. The Home Secretary has given them additional powers. So maybe it's time for police to actually start to act to implement some of those powers. Because what's the point of having powers if you're not going to use them? Why is the Home Secretary giving us that? And I think, you know, I do feel sorry for ordinary members of the public who may end up with a criminal record because they want to move these people. So by throwing your skating board or trying to pull them off, you'll end up getting arrested. And that's, I certainly wouldn't want that. I understand people's frustration, because if I was in that queue trying to get somewhere, hospital, work, whichever way you like, it's extremely inconvenient.
I mean, it really is. And I'm afraid, and obviously we don't want to see it, but somebody will drive through them one day. They'll just do it, because they'll be so frustrated that they'll just do it, and they'll be so enraged, somebody will get hurt, somebody might even get killed. And I just think these idiots have got to realise the impact they're having on everyday life now, and it's unbearable. It's not fair.
No, and I agree, because the person who runs through them, you know, I don't advocate anybody does that, take the law into your own hands, because you will be the one that will be standing in court justifying what you did, why you did it. The point being, you're absolutely right. Let's start to implement those powers. Police have powers to intervene in the slow marching, holding up traffic, inconveniencing, and perhaps police now need to look at those tactics and start to think about, you know, saving general members of the public in not only inconvenience, but actually protecting them from themselves.
Yeah. Absolutely right, because, you know, this has become a kind of cult in a way, you know, because this time last year there wasn't all these people doing this. They've all suddenly decided, you know, to give up whatever it was they used to do, which was probably knitting or crocheting or, you know, playing bridge at some kind of club full of old people. You know, they've now decided they're going to save the world. You know, which is all fine and dandy, but it's a kind of a fashion thing that's going on, because they don't do it when the weather's not very nice. They don't do it very much in the winter. You know, they used to sit down and block things. Now they don't. Now they walk slowly. But it's sort of pathetic. You know, it's almost like we've got to fight them in a different way, because I don't particularly want to see everybody being locked up, but we're going to have to find some way of dissuading them from doing it.
I don't think that you'll ever find a way of dissuading them, because these people feel quite passionately for them to come out, be abused.
Well, I can think of a couple of ways to dissuade them.
So I think they really do feel very, very passionate about a cause. For me, it's for them to rethink their tactics. Yes, you know, we know about global warming. Yes, we know that there's a real crisis. But rethink your tactics, because if this is about getting public awareness raised, actually, all they're doing is raising public awareness on their tactics.
But, yeah, exactly.
Rather than the issue at
also,
hand.
the idea that you need to raise public awareness about climate change, I mean, it's all anybody ever talks about. You know, you turn on the TV, I mean, you talk about temperatures of 48. There aren't any temperatures of 48. They're just pretending that there might be temperatures of 48, and you get the number in your head and you think, oh, my God, it's going to be 48. I've got an item here from Robert in Nottingham. He says, I decided to fact-check a couple of items in the news about the climate change. They've been pulling the wildfires out on the island of La Palma at the end of a heatwave story in Europe. Over last week, the highest temperature in La Palma was 29 degrees centigrade. Quite hot, but quite normal for the time of year. Front page of Telegraph is a picture of children playing in water cooling off in Menorca. Once again, the maximum temperature in the last week has been 29 degrees. You know, and it does get to 40. When I lived in New York, it used to be 40 quite a lot. Pretty much unbearable in the summer. That was in the 1980s. You know, the hottest day of the year was measured in 1913 in Death Valley. You know, you can take your pick, and you can pick and choose whichever, you know, numbers that you want. But in the end, it's not. There's no evidence that it's any worse than it ever was.
Well, I don't necessarily agree that it's not worse than ever it was. I think we could only have to look across, you know, the world to see that it is worse.
But it really isn't, Nusrit.
I
It really
think it is.
I promise you.
I don't agree with the tactics these people are using, because I think that detracts from what we're talking about. It focuses on them. They're trying to raise awareness, which we already have. They want the government to act. They want the world to act. But they should start to tell us what they actually want done. It's not already being done.
Well, I mean, for a group of people who are complaining that the Earth's heating up, they're wearing an awful lot of clothes, woolly jumpers, and you know, oil manufactured high vis vests. So you know, they're not very hot, are they?